Hola, ¿qué tal? Bienvenidos a Empodérate de Chicanos por la Causa. It's a pleasure to join us today. Valeria, we're talking about fall that is finally here for us. I don't know what it means in Arizona though, but in other states across the country, you're able to see the different seasons. I don't know about Arizona.
Yeah, I think Arizona just has two seasons. It's hot and not hot.
Not as hot.
Yeah, not as hot because it does not get cold here.
You're
but
right.
I will say what I do love about Arizona is that I don't know if you knew, but Flagstaff is like one of the snowiest places.
Really?
Yeah, so it's only 2 hours away from here, so you can go and like snowboard, ski, and I think that's
And then
really
you have
cool.
Mount Lemmon down in Tucson area. So we have a few cold spots.
Yeah.
From time
Not
to
in
time.
Phoenix.
Not in Phoenix, you're
But
right.
in Arizona.
So it's always a pleasure to be here with you, Empodérate, and in our studio here at GLAS, Girls Leadership Academy of Arizona, here at CPLC, one of the all-girl charter schools in the state.
Yeah, very excited to be here again on this couch, not with just you, but with our amazing guests as
Yes,
well.
absolutely. And Empodérate was created to have a space where we can share our stories, our impact, and as we look at the next generation, what are the lessons learned, what we can learn from, the success of others. And so that's why we're so excited that Patrick Ramirez is here with us today. Good morning. How are you?
Thank you for the time today. I'm excited to talk about what we're doing.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Tell us about your background. I'm interested to find out where you're from, where you grew up.
Okay, well, basically, I'm a Maryville born and raised boy.
I had no idea, really, from the west side.
I'm the west side. My father is still alive, thank God, and he's there on 43rd and Thomas, where I grew up. I see him on Sundays after church every Sunday. I'm spending the afternoon watching old westerns with him.
Yeah.
And so that's where I come from. I'm a product of PT Co High School, Isaac Junior High.
I went to Isaac. That was my first
mhm.
school when I
Yes,
when I moved to the U.S.
Alhambra High School, class of 82.
Yes.
Arizona State University for engineering school, and then went and lived back east for a few years to work on an MBA in the DC area. Came back and started my company, some years later. But fundamentally, I'm from the west side, and I love the west side. I live in the Chandler area now. Simply, that's where my first job was out of college, and so I bought a place there in the Ocotillo area, and I love it. It's a quiet area.
Yeah.
But my heart resides still in the Maryville area.
In Maryville area. Yeah. So where are your parents from? Were they also from the west side?
Yes. My father's family, the Ramirez family. My grandfather worked for the Dobson family. So my father was born on the Dobson ranches there on Baseline and Price. Oh, wow. And we drive it every now and then. I'll take him down there just to kind of reminisce, and he'll show me where all the canals were and show me where the houses were. And it's all home development right now, commercial, but there were a lot of fields out there. The Dobson family was pretty close to my father and his brothers, my tios. My mom's from the Globe area. Globe, Miami area.
Miami, of course.
Mining families, right?
Yes.
And so that's where they were both born here in Arizona, but they're certainly from different parts of the state, and they're enjoying, or my father is enjoying getting out and seeing the state side when I can take him out.
We've known each other for a while. I just realized it's been 10 years that we were neighbors in the same complex, and we've seen each other from time to time.
We do.
Tell us about Assure Engineering.
Okay, good. Well, thank you for the time. I'm excited to show a little bit about what a small business can do, particularly a small business that partners with CPLC or any kind of a social services organization that has economic development as part of its vision and mission, which CPLC does, as we know, right through Prestamos.
Yeah.
So the journey started in 2014 for Assured Engineering. We are a civil electrical engineering company, still there at CPLC Commerce Center, 10th Street and Buckeye. I've been there 11 years. I spent a year prior to 14 up with the Prestamos folks. They gave me a small office to use when I was doing a business plan. And in June of 2014, I launched the company. It's an engineering firm doing work for SRP, Southwest Gas. We've done APS work. We've done Cox Communications, City of Goodyear. We are civil electrical engineers, degreed engineers.
And then you expanded into other states as well.
We did.
And
so currently we're in 3 states. We have Central Arizona, Southern Arizona, which includes Yuma all the way to Sierra Vista, doing work for Southwest Gas. design work. So we design gas lines to homes, design gas lines to new commercial complexes, these large steel, high pressure gas lines we do, and also distribution line that would come to your stove for your tortillas.
Yeah.
Right? And so we do those kind of lines for Southwest Gas, both new and replacement for old lines. In Nevada, we're up in northern Nevada, kind of Elko, all the way down to Lake Tahoe, Carson City area. And then for southern Nevada, we do Bullhead City, Laughlin in that area. And then for California, we're in what's kind of the high desert area, Hesperia, Apple Valley, and Big Bear. We don't go down into the LA basin. That's not Southwest Gas territory. So we cover those 3 states and those 3 areas with about 18 employees. So we are a small business.
Very, very nice.
Yeah.
And I know you also served, right, in our U.S. military. What was that like?
So the military is an interesting part. So I was 20 years old, right? I was not a bad high school student, first of all. And we'll talk about that for engineering because we are in a high school, and I do want to share with high school students, what it is to be an engineer, what it takes to be an engineer, and it's not as scary as I thought in high school, okay? Because I really want to hit that hard because there's ways we can do that. But when I was 20, I was working at a supermarket called Smitty's. I'm not sure if you remember.
I remember
Smitty's.
there was one on 43rd and McDowell.
That was my Smitty's.
Really?
Yeah, the snack bar in particular.
Our Casa Primavera Elderly
was-
Center is
Yes.
a block away.
Exactly. I know they're 39th Avenue area.
Yeah.
And so they had a snack bar at the time. So I was the guy doing the pizzas, right? And I was out of high school, out of Alhambra, going to Phoenix Community College. Not a bad high school student, but certainly not focused, right? And what the military did for me, I remember clearly, there was this gentleman that used to come in and sit at the counter and eat his pizza, and we would just chat. I'd be making my pizzas, he'd be chatting. He was a retired Air Force member, and so he used to tell me, Patrick, you're a good kid. You got decent grades. You're not in trouble. Think about the military. And so I decided to go into, at that time, 1984, into the Air Force Reserves. Went to basic training, went to San Antonio for Air Force military training, and then I went up to the north side of Texas, which is Shepherd Air Force Base up in Wichita Falls area. I did all my training, learned how to work on airplanes. That's what got me interested in engineering. It focused me on something that is complex, mechanical. I fell in love with airplanes. And I just kind of took off on wanting to be an engineer at that point. But it was really the U.S. military that kind of focused me into something that I thought, maybe I can do this as a career. Maybe I can be an engineer down the road. And so I came back from all my training, went back to Phoenix Community College, more focused, not so scattered, I guess. After that, and then on to ASU.
How was that experience? What did you get to do on at the Air Force inside the plane? Did you ever flow? Did you flow?
No. We were in the military. In the military, you have two groups of members. You have enlisted, and then you have officers. Right? Enlisted are traditionally your mechanics and your firemen and your civil engineers that are working equipment. Right? What you want to do if you want to stay in is you want to get your four-year degree and then become a commissioned officer. So I set my sights on that. And so the whole time that I was enlisted, which was about 11 years, because you get through college and you got to figure out what to do with the rest of your life. I was in and I was working on the airplanes here at Sky Harbor Airport. I'm sure when you fly out, you can probably look across the runway and you see those air refueling planes right there. That was my unit for about, I guess, 8-9 years. Then about 4 years, I was at Papago Park, the headquarters there where we have the National Guard headquarters right on 52nd Street in McDowell. I was there, and then that's when I finished college, got a degree, and got a commission, earned a commission in the military. Now you're a lieutenant. So you put all the enlisted stuff aside, and you become a commissioned officer. And then it's a whole different journey. And that's what took me all the way to my 31 years of service, and all the way to, thank God, having a chance to be a colonel.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was a 31-year journey, which goes quickly. I mean, who wouldn't say, wow, the last 20 years just kind of buzzed by, right?
So, absolutely. So then your job was to make sure that the planes were in good standing and to be able to be ready for war.
When I was enlisted, yes. Now, when you become a military officer, then you have to basically pick a profession. And so the profession I picked, oddly enough, was medical. And the reason I enjoyed that so much is because, number one, it was independent of engineering. I was already an engineer and working in the civilian world as an engineer. Remember, this is your National Guard now, so
Yeah.
it was a part-time.
Yeah.
I wasn't
Volunteer.
I wasn't active Air Force anymore. So I had my civilian job, building an engineering career. I was working for another company at the time, and then on the military side in the Air Guard, building a military career. So I decided, which is something that the military does very, very well, they'll allow their members to go into a field and train in that field that doesn't have to be their field that they're doing in the civilian world. Matter of fact, I would recommend it not be, so you can get that breadth of experience in a whole different field. So when I had a chance to get an MBA out in DC along the way, I came back and the unit says we need an officer to be kind of what would be a chief operating officer for our medical group, right? I wasn't a doctor, I wasn't a nurse, I really didn't understand the clinical side, but I understood operations.
The military.
Right, and so I was able to go into the medical group and start working as basically an administrator. The position is formally called an administrator. So I started working as the medical services administrator, did that here in Phoenix, and then I moved on to Reno in the unit there for 7 years. And then I moved on to Puerto Rico for 4 years, where I was a commander out there.
Oh, so you were in Puerto Rico. You were
I was
telling
there
us that
for
you're
4
going to go back
years.
there,
Yeah.
but I have no idea that you had served there.
And that's important because what I always share with high school students, especially high school students, because at 18, 19, 20, you kind of just see a lot of options, but don't really understand how to zero in on what might work out. Well, it was the military that taught me, don't be afraid to look outside of where you're at right now for your next opportunity. I was in Phoenix and I was a lieutenant, going to be a captain, but I didn't see growth there anymore. I'd been part of this unit for 10, 11 years, right? I knew the unit, I loved the unit, but it was another unit that was going to give me a chance to grow. And it was Reno. It was the Reno unit, so here was the 161st Air Refueling, and then Reno was the 152nd. Different airplanes, different mission, medical group still. Medical group to medical groups. I went into their administrator for them for 7 years. And then when I was lieutenant colonel in Reno, I saw that the only way to get a command position, which is what every colonel wants, a chance to command, that opportunity was not going to be there because it's about timing and who's retiring and that, it's a lot of moving parts, right?
Yeah.
And so I saw a position that could be opening in the San Juan area. And there's a unit in San Juan, Air National Guard unit there at the airport, the 156 wing. And it so happened that it opened. I was ready. I was qualified. I interviewed. I got selected. And 4 years going back and forth almost every month for a whole week. Loved every minute of it.
And that must be super duper interesting. What is maybe a piece of advice that you maybe want to give to like a high school student that's, kind of scared of stepping out of their comfort zone, saying how you said you've been living here in the Phoenix area basically your whole life and now, got to stay here for a little bit and then you went to Reno and then Puerto Rico.
The advice I normally give to high school students that have a chance to spend time with is who's that person or persons that have done it before? The guy at the counter when I was making pizzas, he'd done it before. The people in Reno who knew the position and they kind of guided me into be ready for that one. The people in Puerto Rico who knew what commanders do out there, they guided me into it. And so it can't be done alone. I think every high school student has, which I did, misunderstanding that, I got to figure this out. I have to figure it out. No. There are people there that are just going to journey with you the moment you take that first step. If you ask them for the help and you give them some insight into what you're interested in and you show them the tenacity that you want to do it. The military is a great way to zero in young members who don't quite understand what direction they want to go because there's a lot of discipline involved, of course, right? You have to pass your annual physical fitness test. You have to go up in rank. You have to go to schools and things like that. But it's not only the military. Any organization, Chicanos por la Causa is a great example. Your church, schools, where they have structured programs, where a student can get into those programs and start to get organized a little bit, start to learn the skills, right? Time management, communication skills, networking, just going up and saying hi to somebody and having a cup of coffee and getting to know them and letting them get to know you. Before you know it, you might have a mentor that just is going to take that step with you. And I can definitely see outside your family, of course, because they're always going to be there for us, right?
Yeah.
Parents, siblings, and whatnot.
Absolutely. Were your parents hesitant for you to join, or they were ready for you to join
My
the Air
father,
Force?
yeah, it's a good question. My father, oddly enough, my mom was like, go, right?
Really?
Because she was, she knew that
That you
I kind
needed
of had
it.
an
You needed the
adventurous,
structure.
right? Yeah. My father was like, really? And so later on, I learned from my mom that my dad took it a little, he was kind of quiet for a while. Because I was the first, so I'm number two in the family, right? I have an older brother and a younger sister, and then a younger brother, so I was number two. But I was the first to kind of bolt and go anywhere, and so my dad was a little surprised, I guess, that I did it. I didn't do it overnight. I mean, we had talked about it every
Yeah.
time I do it today. Even every time I have what's going on with myself, I sit with my dad and over a cup of coffee and just kind of hash it out.
Yeah.
Right? That's what parents do very, very, very well.
Absolutely.
So they were both very supportive, and they both, talked about it for many years after I had come back and continued on with service.
We're recording this episode during Hispanic Heritage Month, right? 30 days, but for us, it's 365 days,
Yes.
right? A year. I'm curious, what role has culture played within your family and then also throughout your career, whether it be Air Force or with your business?
Okay. So starting with the culture, of course, being from Maryville, we're predominantly, especially today, right? But growing up in Maryville, it wasn't that way, right? My little league team was not just Latinos playing baseball, right? My father was our coach, and but it was a wide demographic of friends that I had. But I did, in fact, start to see that I was predominantly in a neighborhood or an environment where it was Latinos and Latinas, and so I started to really understand the culture a little bit better and how that could support me, right, and how I could engage in it to support others as well. So over the years, I've spent time, at least as best I can, to understand my culture. My Spanish is becoming better. I go to Puerto Rico and it's almost predominantly Spanish out there, right? And
Yeah,
so it's a little hashed, but I enjoy it. I enjoy having the language part of who I am, and I enjoy practicing it when I'm there with them, with that community as a whole. Because Spanish is predominantly the language on the island, as opposed to English. One thing that I was also very careful about, though, is the culture being a support mechanism, but not being the only foundation that a person can have, right? Because the U.S. military taught me that as you increase in rank and as you increase in duties and responsibilities, at some point you have to kind of get in there and scrap it up with everybody else for the next opportunity. The schools that we go to as officers to get our rank, they're not in Arizona, they're in Montgomery, Alabama, right? So it does a Latino or Latina or African American or Native American, do they want to leave their comfort zone and go, sit in Montgomery, Alabama for a while and get educated so they can get their next rank? And the answer should be absolutely, without hesitation, if that's what you want. So I want culture to be part of who I am, but I definitely don't want it to be the only defining factor of a success for anybody, right? But it is who you are. It should be predominant in your enthusiasm and in your self-confidence, and most importantly, in how you give back, right? I'm proud. That's why I partner with CPLC, which we'll get into a little bit.
Yeah.
It's because Chicanos por la Causa has as its core vision the community, right? Predominantly Hispanic because where we live, but it's anybody.
Yeah, we serve everyone.
Anyone who needs help. I see it all the time in the Commerce Center. People come into our office looking for a CPLC office. They're not all Hispanic. There's all kinds of demographics needing help, seeking advice, looking for support. And that kind of warms my heart that I'm partnering with an organization that does that.
Thank you. Yes. Tell us about that journey when you decided that you were ready to launch your own business.
The business? Okay, so when I finished some active duty in the Air National Guard, when President George W. Bush sent all the troops down to the border, 2006, 2007, to help the Border Patrol with roads, improving roads. I was a captain at the time in the Arizona National Guard, and I was asked to go on what's called active duty for the National Guard for a couple of years. And so I did it and happily, and I was with the Border Patrol down there, and all these units that were coming in and using the heavy equipment. what they were doing is they were improving the roads. Southern Arizona is a beautiful place, but they get a lot of rain down there, and those washes start washing out, and the Border Patrol agents, they're not safe in those trucks going down those roads at night all by themselves. So I was proud to spend a couple of years down there from Douglas all the way to Yuma, along the what we say the fence line, helping the Border Patrol with good roads so they're safe. And that led me to understand what it was to really engage, at the national level, of course. And then the engineering that I did at that time, and I finished it, I was excited to start my own firm. To your question, after doing that for 2 years, I thought, this engineering, I understand it. I have a degree. At that point, I had an MBA already, so I had some business, confidence, I guess. I'd never done a business before, but at least I had the confidence. And so I sat down with Edmundo Hidalgo.
Yes, our former president and CEO.
Former president.
Also
David,
from Southern Arizona.
All from Southern Arizona. So Edmundo and I sat down. David Adame brought us together. And I knew David because we're both Sun Devils. Yeah, so that's kind of how I met.
And he also had some family also in Southern Arizona. Isn't it from the mining town? Maybe I forget. I don't know why.
That I'm not sure of. I wouldn't be surprised because he has family all over the place.
Yeah, he does.
So we sat down there in Edmundo's office, and I had a draft business plan, and I basically said something like, "Hey guys, I want to start this business. I have some money. I think I had like $35,000, which isn't a lot, but it's enough to at least buy a computer. And would you guys like to get involved somehow?" And this is when David and Mundo says, "We do that, through Préstamos, and Futuro."
Yes.
Right, which is the equity investment arm, and so they're
and Préstamos is the business lending.
Correct.
And Futuro is the equity investment.
The equity, exactly. So we, I finished my business plan. We presented it. We did an operating agreement like any other business would, and that was my one request to them is, please treat Assured Engineering like any other company walking in the front door, because as engineers we have to be competitive on our own. We'll get support. We'll ask for support. Take an equity position, let's do some loans, all that kind of stuff like any other company would, because I really wanted to know that we could do this like any other company would be able to do it out in the marketplace, because those are the guys we compete with, and they're very good companies that we compete with. I know them very, very well. Many of them are good friends of mine, and we all just kind of have our friendly competitions with our companies. So they did that. This was in 2013. We signed the agreement November 13. I started the company in June 14. And away we went. And over the years, the partnership has really changed a lot from what we expected. I've learned a lot from CPLC and the services that are offered. I think I've used every service from your marketing department available. I've used every service from Robert Alvarado's IT department available.
Oh, it's amazing.
All the loan services from Teresa and her. I've used every one of those. And I encourage all small businesses who want to do something like this, use organizations such as Préstamos to help you, get off the ground, and they will. And not only will they loan money if you're qualified, there's a whole support system that comes behind it.
Yes.
Right? That is really the important part.
Absolutely, the supporting system and then the sense of community as well. But then seeing success stories such as yourself, right? That you're driven, that you see the bigger picture, and that you understand the value of that supporting system. And for that reason, you also give back. Because in addition to that part of CPLC with the economic development and the opportunities for helping businesses start and realizing their dream, it's also about giving back to the social services. And you've been also in the forefront. And thanks to you, we opened a pet space area in our domestic violence shelter, De Colores, 2 years ago, or was it a year ago that you just got involved, and they love you there. Our staff, Mayani, you are a silent hero. So thank you for all you do.
The shelter is amazing. By the way, it's also Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
That's right. Yes, October. Absolutely.
October the 1st, right? And so it overlaps with Hispanic Heritage, which ends on the 15th of October, right? And we have the rest of October And just chatting with Mayani recently, I was telling her I was going to do this podcast, and she wanted me to do a shout out for an event they're having on the 17th, I think.
Yes, there is an art gallery. We're so excited about
Yes,
it. And
yes.
Fatima has been promoting it also in the media. We can't wait to. That is actually my mom's birthday, so I would miss it this year. But I'm so excited. Cindy and Mayani had been working very hard, the managers and directors of the Colores, to put this event together, and we can't wait. It's such an important opportunity for us to bring the information out, right? To empower the survivors, but also those that may need our help or prevent the situation to continue to happen and just stop the cycle.
Stop the cycle. Absolutely right. I was involved with my daughter when Lucia was in St. John Bosco Catholic School. They had some requirements for community involvement, so we chose the Sojourner Center at that time. Another wonderful domestic
I
violence
volunteered
shelter.
there when I was in college.
And so
They're
I was on
amazing.
their board for a little bit, and Lucia was in their library organizing books and stuff. So that's when I kind of became familiar with the whole environment of domestic violence and the shelters and the requirements. And it's changed so much since. This was good 10, 15 years ago. And today, Mayani educates me all the time on what the environment looks like, right? And
Yeah.
it's changed a lot, right?
And Mayani's Puerto Rican, by the way.
She is. She is.
She told you all about it too.
Every
and the
time I
connection
go
that
to
you guys
Puerto Rico,
have.
she's jealous.
That's amazing.
Yeah, every time I go, she's But today, and the reason, I guess, a good question would be why would an engineering firm, aside from CPLC's, my love for CPLC, why would an engineering firm pick that field, right? There's so many. There could be
Yes.
scholarships. There could be STEM. There could be, and I believe wholeheartedly that the news we see today about the visas is a great example, right? How many visas are going to be for H-1B and letting people in from other countries, and
And the fees that are increasing to $100,000
and the knowledge is
now.
out there. It's true. I've worked with, especially in grad school, many students who are really smart, come from other countries. But I'm going to fight hard for our own community and our own brain power that we have here in Phoenix. And we hire from high schools here. We hire from Metro Tech. We hire from Tonopah. We hire from Surprise. We hire from all these schools that have wonderful students who have the aptitude. They just need some direction. They need some encouragement, and they need some support along the way. To go to engineering school, that's our future engineers, right? Would a small business like mine reach out and pay $100,000 for H-1B? Probably not. I mean, Apple wants them, Intel wants them, the YouTube wants them. That's great. But for small firms like us that want to be engaged in the community, we have to build our talent here because, number one, it's a good business model for a company like mine. We're profitable doing that. It's not just altruistic, right? It's not just okay, I'm going to go out and see what I can do. No, we have a business to run. SRP expects us to be the sharpest we can be. Southwest Gas, they want sharp engineers who do good work. We can do that here. We don't have to search out too far. Now, I go to Mexico, like I told you earlier. We have four civil engineers that are working from their home offices in Hermosillo. Pretty soon, we're going to have some engineers in Maya West from the university there in Puerto Rico. I'm going to go next week and talk to their career fair and meet the directors of their engineering departments. We all see when it rains in Puerto Rico what happens to the power on the island, right? That's kind of number one. And so we want to be part of the solution. I fell in love with the island when I was serving there 4 years, and I want to be part of that community too, just like here. And so we'll do our best to hire a few engineers, build a few careers, do some work for Luma down the road, which is the SRP on the island, and see what we can do for those students as well.
That's amazing. And just following of that, I remember when you talked to me about Metrotech Public High School, also in the Central West side of Phoenix, and then at the same time, the story about the student that you identify and supported. So you saw the potential, and he ended up going to MIT, right? And so. So what are the recommendations that you have for those aspiring engineers? Excuse me. What is it that you see to give them the opportunity to join you in your firm?
If they're
out of high school.
Right out of high school. So the students, we have three students, or they're not high school students anymore. They're fresh out of high school, just a few months ago. Every one of them came with something different, but what they had in common was a confusion, I guess, of what engineering is. And that's what I fall in love with every time, right? Almost to my detriment sometimes. Like I just jump in, and the other managers in my office are like, "Slow down, Pat." I'm like, "No, let's give them a chance. Let's give them a chance, right?" And they're like, "Well, we need to train them too, right? We need to take care of all the business side of what's going on here." But what all of them had was a misunderstanding of what it takes to be an engineer, but the desire to learn. The desire to learn. And each of them in their own way is coming along wonderfully in what they're learning. Now, we have a very structured training program, and most companies do. Ours is very deliberate because we do bring in younger students. Some of the firms that I compete with, their business model is to hire right out of college.
Yeah.
Right? We want that engineering degree, and then you're going to join us. Our business model is, well, if you don't have an engineering degree, are you pointed in that direction? Let us help you. Let us help you get there, right? But along the way, you're gonna get some skills, and you're gonna get some training and have an employment, of course. And if you get to it, that's great. We do hire from college because we have to have the credentials, right? So we've hired from all universities here, including GCU, NAU, U of A, ASU. So we have degreed engineers, we have professional engineers, the whole thing. But the business model includes the demographic that normally wouldn't be in a small engineering firm, maybe larger ones because they have some capacity to do that. The second part of that, though, is these students that come in, they get the same training program that degreed engineers get. Expectations are different because they just don't have the knowledge that you gain in engineering school. So my expectations have to be adjusted. But they go and meet with SRP, with us. They go out to the field and do field visits. They do PowerPoint presentations. They have email to communicate back and forth, just like we do. We just have an added layer of support for them. And so it's not really, what I'm most proud of, the way we do it, is not the engineering we're giving them. It's all those life skills. Right? We're teaching them how to communicate. We're teaching them how to address others respectfully. We're teaching them how to show up and look sharp for a meeting. And we're teaching them not to be late to a meeting.
Yes.
We're teaching them to put your phones
There's
away.
a structure, right.
All the things. And so if they stay with us, that's great. If they decide to move on to another firm or go on to school, they're going to
taking those skills with them.
They're taking those skills with them. So we're really building careers. And we've had, over the 11 years, we've had so many come through our office that have come, spent time with us, and moved on for different reasons, which is expected. And I'm so happy that each of them have really kind of landed somewhere that we could say, wow, we had a small part in that for their next journey, for them to be better in their own careers.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And, you said that there was a lot of students that have came through those doors and kind of gotten out of those doors. Is there a story in particular that kind of stands out, of a student that you saw and, now they're doing big things?
Yes. We had one, his name's Martin Flores, came way back when, Metrotech, young man, went to ASU, spent time with us, went to ASU, and decided engineering wasn't for him. Right, that happens too, by the way, which is super valuable. Right, who wants to go to get a 4-year degree and decide I really don't like this?
Right,
the money, the time, all that stuff. So Martin, along the way, kind of said, this isn't resonating with me. But what he did instead, he decided to go, and I think he had ultimately got a degree in physics. He had a desire for the STEM fields. He just wasn't sure, where it was going to. So he landed still in the field, but not in engineering. We had a young intern. She came in and spent the summer with us and decided engineering wasn't for her, and she ended up in business. And so these students kind of always, make me smile because they saw the what they don't like or don't quite see it resonating with them, but they found something that does.
Yeah.
Right, which is just as good.
Absolutely, very, very valuable.
Yeah.
And then, as you mentioned, that the skills they're transferable, whatever the career they choose to pursue. I've always seen you así muy siempre very professional and then very on point, excited about you providing to the community, about the students, the growth of your firm. But what do you do for fun? What is the other side of Patrick that we
my
don't know
heavens,
about?
The other side of fun. Well, I have some, if I can share, I have some hobbies that I'm wanting to learn, right? Because the military's taken a lot of my time. So I've always wanted to spend more time. I grew up fishing, right?
Fishing.
And so I've always wanted to learn how to do fly fishing, right? I would love to, maybe if my father's still well enough to kind of learn together with him. We have some beautiful fly fishing locations here in Arizona that we could enjoy together. I love to run. I do some exercise. I'm not a marathoner or anything,
Oh, no,
but
you
I
don't.
get out in the beautiful.
Chance is not. No.
I get out in the mornings, especially Saturday mornings. I get out and do that. I'm enjoying watching my daughter go through graduate school herself. Lucia, her name's Lucia. She's out in Chicago, doing some grad work in forensics, and so she tells me a lot about her field. And that's something that is super interesting to me, just being that it's another fellow science.
Yes.
Right?
Is she planning to get into law enforcement?
She wants to do investigative
How exciting!
forensics. Yeah, she does. She does, and I'm just enjoying slowing down a little bit, right? Slowing down I'm so thankful that we're blessed in the company, that we're doing well. We have a great team. The military is completed this past February, and I'm just taking a breath right now. But it's also given me enthusiasm to stay connected and see where else we can, where in particular, can continue forward. The one thing that I want to share is that I've always hoped and thought that if you're able to get an education, right, especially those that maybe didn't have a clear sight way back when, if you're getting an education, whether it's a formal one or some kind of a trade or whatnot, and you have resources down the road to do, then you should engage, right? You should not just sit idle and be thankful. You should use those for somebody else appropriately, but use them for somebody else. So. With me having had a chance to go to schools and in the military, teach me some things as well, I'm more excited now than ever to have a chance to share it at some level. That's why I'm involved with Ecolotes so much, right? Just in small ways, to give back that way, and at the same time encourage others to see in their careers that are just starting. Don't forget along the way. Don't forget to spend that time and get outside your comfort zone and volunteer somewhere, engage in something and help somebody else, because you'll be amazed on how it can just change an organization or a person, like the dog park, for example.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Patrick, thank you for your service. Thank you for not only your military, but community service as well. Looking out for the next generation and supporting our kids and underserved communities, wherever they may be, that you have a clear goal in making sure that long-term impact is shared, not only through your story and your family, but also through the work that you do. Whatever that may be, we can see that the legacy that you're leaving behind and the impact you're making in STEM fields because of your mentorship and commitment to the communities we serve.
Exciting. These are exciting times. We read a lot in the news about the dark side of what's going on in the world, but no, these are exciting times for our young people to be engaged in their careers. And Chicanos por la Causa is a great example for an organization to see that and be part of that. And as we do our closure with this agreement with CPLC, right? Because I'm getting ready to buy out. Remember we talked about the equity.
Your equity.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
It was 60-40, right?
Now.
So 40. So 60-40, and we put in. I think I shared about 35,000.
Yeah.
And CPLC put in about the same amount. And when we do a buyout next year, it'll be in the early January timeframe. It's going to be a 5-year, almost $700,000 for Chicanos por la Causa.
Wow, thank you.
So
that's amazing.
So that $35,000 over 11 years in hard work and sticking it out and praying a lot, of course, and being thankful along the way is going to turn out to be some real money for
the services that we provide.
Yes. To use.
Thank you. Thank you. That's amazing, and that's thanks to the hard work and your commitment and your drive to grow your business and then support the community along the way.
It's exciting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Looking forward
Welcome.
to having you back with your students from Mexico and Puerto
Okay.
Rico and
Okay.
throughout the states here in the U.S. Valeria, thank you for coming in today.
Yeah, of
It's a
course.
pleasure. We'll see you next time. And CPLC Empodérate.